Hey there, folks. My name is Mr. Matthew Larson. I'm explaining right now for you how to do a literary analysis. So what is a literary analysis, and how do you actually go about and approach and complete a good, well-written literary analysis? So first and foremost, what is a literary analysis? A literary analysis is simply a way of thinking about a story or a poem that's deeper than the surface level. So we're not just explaining the plot, we're taking something from the story and we're giving some more analysis and kind of reasoning about that. A good example would be the start of Lion King, the movie, right? It starts out with that loud chant, which is Swahili, and it's saying a king is born. Nazca or however you say it, I don't know, can't pronounce it. That is very iconic, right? You know that. Now, I could write a literary analysis not about the whole Lion King. So first Simba is presented, and then Simba runs away, and then Mufasa comes and saves Simba, and then Mufasa meets some wildebeest and falls down and goes bye-bye, and then Rafiki is present, and he, like, all these different things. No, that's the plot. Instead, I'm going to talk about maybe the importance of the use of Swahili and the language of Swahili in the film Lion King, and how does that influence the way we think about it, right? It starts out immediately setting the scene. We know we're in the heart of Africa. We know we're going to rely on some of those traditions. The meaning of the name Rafiki, which is Swahili for friend, and how is Rafiki a friend to Mufasa and then ultimately Simba throughout the Lion King? That is a literary analysis. We're going to talk about those aspects, so like the use of Swahili in the film, and not just first this, then this, then this, then this. Now, one good way to start a literary analysis is by asking yourself a series of questions. One question could be, what is your favorite part? Why was this thing so interesting to you? If it's something that you found particularly interesting, it's probably got something there you could write about. So you could analyze, why did the author choose to do this particular thing? What was the point of that? Why is that important in terms of our ability to understand and feel? You could look about patterns that you notice. Is there a reason that the author did this, right? These patterns of one thing, then another thing, then another thing. We talk about Edgar Allan Poe, rapping on my door in his famous poem, The Raven. We hear these different things that's repeated. Why is that being repeated? You could tell us that in your literary analysis. You could look at the characters. How did the characters change? What is symbolic and significant about their change? The characters are not going to be static, so they're going to look at how they change. Or maybe you're going to look at how all the characters changed, but then one didn't, and what is symbolic and important about that? And lastly, what was the message the author was trying to portray and give us, the reader? What did they want us to come away with? Those are different questions you can start off. If you're kind of just like, where do I begin from here? Where do I go? These are some good questions and things you could start with. Now, first and foremost, you've got to make a claim. What is the argument you are trying to prove, and how does this help others understand the story? So I want to make an argument about the Lion King. The argument I want to improve is that the language, the Swahili language, was used to really enhance the film and help set the setting in Africa. So I could, that's the argument I'm going to prove, right? I want to prove that as I go through. How does it help us understand the story? Well, one, it's a Lion King, right? It's taking place in the land of lions. We have this happening. The use of Swahili really sets that scene even more and helps bring the readers or people who are watching the film and make us feel like we're a part of this kingdom, right? This kingdom that was reigned over by Mufasa and then ultimately Simba. We can look at the importance of everything that we're talking about and how does this all relate back to the use of language. So how does it help others understand this story, which is a children's story in this place, but how do we take it deeper? Second is you need to find evidence. Think of a literary analysis like you being an attorney in a courtroom. Evidence matters. There's a reason it's yellow on your screen right now. That evidence matters. You need absolutely 100% need to have evidence to prove what you're claiming, right? If I just said Swahili is an important part of The Lion King, but I didn't provide any evidence of how it was actually used, well, that's problematic, right? It can start off the initial scene, the most kind of iconic part of the entire movie, that attention-grabbing moment. That was Swahili. That's important, right? The use of Rafiki, his name meaning friend. Why is that important? Well, this is why it's important. Here's the evidence. Then I'm going to make my conclusion. So remember, evidence matters. You must provide evidence. And then you get into the analysis. The analysis is, what does your evidence actually mean? Simply providing evidence doesn't really go very far. You need to take it further, right? So take what we have and then explain why this collection of things that I've gathered actually mean what I want them to mean for you. So how do I help convince you that all these different puzzle pieces to come together to make an independent puzzle? Lastly, you want to read your argument and figure out, does it actually make sense? Does the evidence you gathered and the analysis you gave of that evidence actually prove the argument you're wanting to prove? Or does it prove something different, right? You want to make sure that the argument you're making makes sense. Think like an attorney. Again, if you go into a courtroom and your evidence doesn't connect, you're going to be in a bad position, and your client is likely going to get, not the person, either your client, if you're a defense attorney, is not going to be acquitted. If you're trying to prosecute someone, that person you're trying to prosecute is not going to be convicted of the crime because your argument and your evidence did not make sense. So make sure that it makes sense. And lastly, always cite your sources. That is incredibly important, right? Tell us, where does your information come from? Now, this is not simply providing a link. Make sure you use the proper format, MLA, APA, Chicago. You tell me, make sure you cite your sources and cite your sources properly. That is all for now. Comments, questions, please do let me know. Otherwise, I will see you later. Good luck.